Hey guys, it's me, G2. Y'all know I'm a realtor here in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm trying to adjust our little captions here. So I titled this scope, They Speak in Tongues, or have you ever tried to make sense of what your realtor or lender just said? And the reason I wanted to jump on and do this scope is because I got a phone call today from one of our clients who opened his monologue with, I'm really ticked. And you got to know that when you get a phone call like that, it's probably best to put on your best listening ears and start paying attention to what he's going to tell you. So I get this phone call, and our client has been trolling the internet, calling lenders. We're the real estate agents, and he calls his loan officer. He gets hold of the junior loan officer, and he tells the junior loan officer, "Hey, I just heard that I can get a 3 3/4% interest rate. How come you let me lock my rate at 4 1/4%?" The reality is there was a discussion, and the buyer, our client, made a decision to lock his rate when rates were arguably on the higher side, and truthfully, 4 1/4, 3 7/8. Yes, there's a significant payment difference, but when I got my first house back in the 80s, I paid 18%. But setting that aside, the conversation that I want to have is more about the fact that we in the industry, and all of us in all industries, tend to speak in our own code. We speak in our own lingo. And when we're talking to prospective clients, or even people that have become clients or friends, we tend to think that they know what's in our head. They think that the words that come out of our mouth, because we understand what the phrase means and what the words mean in that phrase, we expect that they mean that. They think that as well, but they don't. They really don't. So our client listens to the loan officer, the junior loan officer, and the junior loan officer tells him, well, rates today are at something. And the reality is, it's Saturday, so arguably the rates were announced Friday at the close of business, and they won't change again until Monday. So our client hears, there's nothing I can do for you. And give you a little backstory, when he locked his rate, he was promised that if rates took a significant slide backwards, that the senior loan officer would be able to adjust that current lock rate backwards or down to a rate that would work better for the buyer, for the borrower, for our client. And he was happy with that. Howsoever, today he reflects on a conversation he had yesterday with another loan officer in another state, because that loan officer is friends with his sister. And that loan officer tells him, I can get you a rate today, that being yesterday, Friday, for 3 3/4, no points. Well, as the conversation progressed with our client and the junior loan officer, the junior loan officer did his best to try and respond to these questions and these bullets flying quickly from our client, and he didn't do a real good job. What he said, in another colloquial term, well, your file is out and ready for documents. Well, that's a very, very broad statement. What he was trying to say, and what he should have said, was the underwriter just cleared your file for final review, and it now has to move from that underwriter to another review process, and then from there it'll go out for final signatures, and from that point it goes to another step and then another step. So the point is that what our client heard was, my file's out of underwriting, I'm ready to close. Well, that's not correct. And when our client called us and and shared with us their frustration over the conversation, the dialogue that they had with the junior loan officer, I had to listen very carefully and listen to what it was he was complaining about. And yes, he was complaining a little bit about the interest rate, and hey, I locked at 4.25, and I really want a lower rate. And while we could get through all of that, some of the other pieces of the conversation that he shared with me were disconnects from what was intended by the loan officer to what is reality. So what I'm saying to everybody in every industry, when we speak, when you speak to your client, whether you're a masseuse, whether you're a lender, whether you sell scented oils, whatever you do in the industry, in your industry, break down your conversation to a very user-friendly, consumer-friendly dialogue. We, all of us, especially in whatever industry we're in, we tend to speak in our own terms. We speak in tongues. We speak in code. And we know what we mean. We know industry professionals who are in the same business with us. They understand what we're saying. But the reality is the consumer doesn't. They have a general idea of the conversation, but they'll read into the conversation pieces that they want to actually take place, things that they want to be real, things they want their own reality to envelop the dialogue that just took place. And the reality is that's usually not the case. So when our client called us and went through for about 20 minutes telling me what he had been told by the junior loan officer, I let him run. I let him tell me everything that he had to say. You know, one of the things that is a learned skill, it's certainly not something that we come out of the womb with, and that's learning how to listen. When someone opens their monologue with, "I'm really ticked," you could get into a defensive crouch and start firing back right away, defending what's coming at you, or better, you can shut up. Listen to what they're saying. Listen to everything they have to say. Let them run until they run out of breath. There's a term in fishing called "let them sound." It means dive to the bottom. When a fish dives to the bottom, he gets exhausted. That's when you can reel him back in and he doesn't put up a fight. Well, the same thing is similar with we, the humans. We tend to want to respond. We want to react to what's being said to us. And sometimes you feel like you're being shot at. Don't feel that way. You know, they're only words. They're not gonna blind you. They're not gonna take your heart from you. They're not going to destroy your soul. They're not going to destroy your world. They are words. They're words for us to interpret. They're words for us to understand, to listen, because you need to listen to the entire monologue. And as it's coming at you, it is a monologue. There isn't a dialogue going until you actually get to make a response. And so when the sender, the speaker, says something to you and he or she is just running and running and running, don't try to cut them off. Let them say what they need to say. I listened to everything that he had to say. I certainly cataloged in my brain the stop points where I would have to make a response to various pieces of what he was saying. Sometimes it's good to have a notepad and jot notes as you're listening to it. If it's a particularly long monologue, I'm going to swipe up on this to see if I'm missing any. I'm not. Okay. So, and when he finally finished, he knew that I had listened to what he had to say, and then I had the opportunity to respond back to him, walk him through each of his disgruntled recitations, the pieces of his monologue that clearly had distressed him, and we broke each one down. And I didn't defend any of the issues because I don't know the other side yet. I'm listening to him tell me what he heard and I certainly didn't discount what he said as him making it up. I believe that he believes he heard what he heard, because he was listening in consumerese and the junior loan officer was speaking in lenderese, if that's a word. He was speaking in his own language, his own tongue, his own phraseology. And the consumer was listening with his own ears, with his own understanding of what those words mean. So as you go through any project of dialogue with consumers, listen to what they have to say. Don't get into a defensive crouch and start firing back, trying to interrupt that monologue. Let them have their say. They will eventually run out of air. They always do. And once they do, then you have a chance to make your statement. You know, a long time ago, I don't remember who said it to me, but it's true, and I've heard it many times before. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. And there's a reason for that. It's kind of pretty simple. You hear more, speak less. And that's something that I think all of us could take a little lesson, a little refresher on. Again, listening is not a skill that you're born with. It's a skill you have to learn. I've been on this earth 64 and a half years. I understand that. My wife's been on this earth 67 and a half years. She's a little older than I am. I robbed the cradle. No, she robbed the cradle. But anyway, my point is, listen to what they're saying. So we listened. I made a phone call. The senior loan officer is out of town, but his junior or his sidekick, his second in command, was there. We had a very, very good discussion about what the client had heard and what needed to be said to allay his concerns. And the stand-in, he's not a stand-in, he's the second in command, made the phone call to our client, took him through all of his discussions, all of his concerns, and at the end of the day, I got a phone call back from our client, completely calmed, because he had now received a conversation that was broken down, because I know this gentleman that called him, broken down into very simple consumer language. That doesn't mean that we have to treat our consumers like imbeciles, because they're not. They're very smart, very intelligent people. But they listen with consumer ears. They listen with consumer intellect. What they don't understand is our slang, our colloquialisms. And again, this is regardless of what career field you are in. So if you got a little bit out of this, I hope you did. I'm, again, G2 Verado. I'm a real estate agent here in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm also the director of VA Rep, the government, for government affairs for VA Rep here in Phoenix. I'm also the state director for VA Rep, the Veterans Association of Real Estate Professionals. My wife and I have been in this industry nearly 3 decades. Seen a lot of people come and go in this industry. A lot of people came and went when the big crash occurred. Happy to answer questions anytime. You can always tweet me at G2 Realtor. You can tweet me. That's my Twitter handle, at G2 Realtor, and of course here at Periscope, also at G2 Realtor. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'll be coming in again tomorrow with some more tidbits of information about the real estate industry, about what's going on in the market, and also how you can position yourself to take advantage of the real estate market when it's out of control, crazy, fast, and you're a buyer trying to score a house. How crazy is that? Listen, you guys have a great evening. Hope to hear from you soon. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Oh, by the way, I hope you were able to really hear this particular post or scope. I'm actually using my iPad. Obviously, I'm using my iPad. You didn't know I was using my iPad. I'm not using an iPhone. I'm using an iPad. I've got it set in landscape mode, and I'm using a shotgun mic. I'm not using a lav. I don't have a lavalier. This is my Bolo. So I've got a shotgun mic mounted to a special bracket on the tripod. and I'm hoping that this came out good for you. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to tweet me at G2 Realtor, or you can reach me on Periscope at G2 Realtor. You guys have a great evening. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.